Alejandro lived a life of blissful ignorance. Days spent on sun-drenched beaches, nights lost in the electric pulse of Ibiza's nightclubs. His world, a canvas splashed with vibrant colors, remained untouched by responsibility. Alejandro, the youngest son of a wealthy Spanish industrialist, had no need for worries. Money, a bottomless ocean, fueled his carefree existence. Life was a never-ending party. Alejandro's life, a tapestry woven with silk and champagne, was about to unravel. A phone call shattered the illusion. His father, the architect of his charmed life, was dead. A chill snaked down Alejandro's spine, a premonition of the storm to come. His father's voice, a distant memory, echoed in his ear. "Responsibility," it whispered, "is a burden you will one day bear." The words, once meaningless, now dripped with ominous weight. The son, once a source of joy, now seemed to mock him. The news of his father's death echoed through the grand mansion like a mournful dirge. Whispers, hushed and urgent, filled the air. The official report declared a heart attack, a silent thief in the night. But Alejandro felt a tremor of doubt. His father, a man who built empires with his bare hands, felled by a whisper? The thought gnawed at him, a persistent itch beneath his skin. He saw the fear in his mother's eyes, the carefully constructed mask of grief barely concealing it. That night, sleep evaded Alejandro. Images of his father, vibrant and full of life, clashed with the cold reality of his demise. As the first rays of dawn pierced the darkness, he made a decision. He would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. His life of carefree abandon, once a source of solace, now felt like a prison. The weight of responsibility, once a distant threat, settled upon his shoulders. The reading of the will took place in the family's opulent library. The air, thick with the scent of old parchment and leather, crackled with anticipation. Lawyers, their faces etched with professional detachment, droned on about trusts and inheritances. Alejandro, his mind still reeling from his father's death, struggled to focus. Then came the revelation. Alejandro, the youngest son, was to inherit everything. The family business, the sprawling estates, the vast fortune, all of it now belonged to him. A collective gasp rippled through the room. His relatives, their faces contorted with a mixture of envy and disbelief, stared at him. Alejandro felt a surge of panic. He had never wanted this, never craved power or wealth. All he had ever desired was the freedom to live life on his own terms. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. He was now the custodian of a legacy shrouded in shadows. As Alejandro delved deeper into his inheritance, he unearthed a truth far more unsettling than he could have imagined. His father's business dealings, once thought to be above board, were anything but. Shady transactions, political intrigue, and whispers of a secret society pulling the strings from the shadows. Documents, carefully hidden away, revealed a web of deceit that stretched far and wide. Names, some familiar and others not, were linked to his father's empire through a tangled knot of favors and threats. The carefree life Alejandro had known, the world of sun-drenched beaches and endless parties, now seemed like a distant dream. The weight of his legacy pressed down on him, threatening to crush him. He realized that his father's death, far from being a random act of nature, was a carefully orchestrated hit. But who could have wanted him dead? And more importantly, what were they willing to do to get their hands on the empire he had left behind? The answer came in the form of a late-night visitor, a woman shrouded in darkness, her face obscured by a veil. She spoke of a conspiracy, a secret organization that had infiltrated the highest echelons of power. Her words, delivered in a hushed tone, sent chills down Alejandro's spine. His father, she revealed, had been a member of this clandestine group, but he had grown disillusioned, sought to break free. His death, a brutal message, a warning to anyone who dared to defy them. Alejandro, now the heir to his father's secrets, was a target. Fear, primal and instinctive, surged through him. He had stumbled into a dangerous game, a game where the stakes were life and death. But there was something else, a flicker of defiance that refused to be extinguished. He would not be cowed, would not let fear dictate his actions. He would fight back, not just for himself but for the memory of his father. The carefree young man, once content with a life of leisure, was gone. Forged in the crucible of his new reality, Alejandro had transformed. He honed his mind, studying his father's business, mastering the intricacies of finance and power. Gone were the days of late-night parties and reckless abandon. He trained his body, learning the art of self-defense, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. He sought out allies, men and women he could trust, forming a tight-knit circle around himself. He knew the enemy lurked in the shadows, watching his every move, waiting for him to make a mistake. But Alejandro would not give them the satisfaction. He would use his newfound knowledge, his cunning, and his resolve to outmaneuver them. He would expose their secrets, dismantle their empire, and avenge his father's death. He was no longer the carefree boy who had inherited a fortune. He was Alejandro, the guardian of his family's legacy, a force to be reckoned with. His time had come,